Howdy, howdy, hey, her, and welcome to Fantasy Fanfellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your lover of Christmas and lover of all things fantasy.
And we are here today to dive so deep into chapters 26 through 30 of Brandon Sanderson's MISTBORN. A quick reminder, I am serving as your professor of all things Sanderson to not only the audience, but also to Steven, because he has not read MISTBORN before.
So, this podcast will only have spoilers for the chapters we read each episode, which means if you're starting MISTBORN but haven't finished it yet, this is the podcast for you.
And a couple of quick housekeeping notes before we get started. Steven and I will be participating in a Fantasy Fangirls charity live stream on Monday, December 29th. But there's a twist. We're going to be playing a game of Dungeons and Dragons during the stream. And if you donate, you will be able to influence the way the game itself plays out. It is going to be so much fun, so please be on the lookout for more info in the coming days. Also, I will be attending Dragonsteel Nexus, Brandon Sanderson's convention in Salt Lake City, Utah, December 4th through 7th, where I'll be speaking on a Stormlight Archive Theories panel, and if you happen to be attending, I would love to see you there. And last but not least, I don't know if either of us are using any of that right now, but we do have Fantasy Fanfellas merch that just launched, I believe it was last week. Oh, he's got the mug out right there.
I got the mug out.
It's perfect. You can check it out in the link in the show notes. And please, feel free to get a shirt, a tank top, a mug. Do we have anything else? I don't really think so. But please, go ahead and check it out. It's in the show notes.
One last thing before we get started. This is a new podcast, obviously, as you've probably noticed. So if you want to help get the word out, please give us a follow on Instagram and TikTok at Fantasy Fanfellas. There's going to be so much content, and you're not going to want to miss it.
Okay, Steven, it's your time. Please burn your medals and let us know, from your perspective, what happened in chapters 26 through 30 of MISTBORN.
Chapter 26. Vin wakes up after an attempt to save the Ska soldiers, feeling like she just had too much Jaeger the night before. There's a meeting between the gang about how the mission is more over than the relationship between Taylor Swift and whoever she was talking about in the song We're Never Getting Back Together, but Kel doesn't agree, so Breeze calls him out, like you do your drunk friend in the back seat when you're playing DD and you go through the drive-thru. No, they don't have lasagna, this is the McDonald's, Kyle. Anyway, Breeze says that he's just using them, and it's giving breakup texts, to be honest. Then there's this large gathering of Ska in the town square, and I just pictured the end of Polar Express when all the elves are gathering to see Santa. And they're there actually because the Lord Ruler wanted to make everybody watch them behead some people. So less cheerful gathering, I guess. Our gang of rebels is watching from a distance, getting upset, but Kel has his motivational monologue moment reminiscent of Denzel Washington in Remember the Titans at the end of training camp. So now the plan is back on, baby. Chapter 27. Kel wants Vin to gain intel on Ellen DeGenerate's fam. I thought you wanted her to stay away, buddy. My, how the turntables... Anyway, Vin chats with Kel about the 11th medal, and he doesn't really know how to use it, apparently, and he's been bluffing his knowledge like anytime I talk about anything. And then we learn about the medal gold, and you can see apparently an alternate version of yourself when you use gold, which seems fitting because too much gold in real life will create an alternate version of you as well. Hashtag greed. I think this is going to be important later. We'll see, though. Then it's time to chat with Marsh, and he relays all the information he's gathered about the Steel Inquisitors, the Obligators, etc. Chapter 28, we're back to ballin' again, and Vin has some intel to gather. So Vintel chats with Kliss, whose name I absolutely hate, and then she chats with Ellen DeGenerate, and they discuss connecting faces, but they decide not to. And then they discuss the Lord Ruler and some other stuff. And then we get Ellen's POV. Oh, good part. And he seems like a good guy. Stay a good guy, buddy. But then he has a drunk conversation with his dad later, as you do, I guess, and ends up asking him for some spies. Chapter 29. Vintel is reading the Diary of a Wimpy Lord, and she's upset because it finishes early. If I had a nickel. Basically, the book ends abruptly. There's no closure to it. So she goes to complain to Pastor Sazed, and they chat for a little bit about the upcoming potluck in the fellowship hall or whatever. And then Kel and the gang chat about upcoming plans, and I'm thinking, just get it done already. Stop talking about it, be about it. And then later, Kay asks Sazed about a particular religion. And at this point, Sazed is probably happier than Hayden in a classy turtleneck. Hashtag callback to last episode. Chapter 30. We're back to ballin' again, but this one is different. Everybody's more clicked up and cold-hearted than lunchtime in high school. Vin sees Ellen, but he's cold as well, and basically breaks off whatever they didn't have. And then she chats with Kliss, who apparently is just a two-faced narc who's been playing everybody. And Kliss tells Vintel that Ellen will be killed tonight. And that's when Vin realizes that she loves Ellen. I need a fan. I need someone to fan me right now. I'm getting hot. So Vin runs to save him, and she sees Shan. That's a tongue twister. And she's one of the assassins, apparently. And she's also a Mistborn. So they fight. And they're magic hopping around. And honestly, I just pictured Neo fighting Agent Smith at the end of Matrix Revolutions. And Vin kills her. And it looks like she has now moved from infant power to infinite power.
And now, it is time for us to don our mist cloaks and dive so deep into what happened in this stretch of chapters. But first, my one big word for today is pressure. Pressure is mounting on all fronts in our story. From the impending house war to the ruthless execution of innocents, the tension within Luthadel is bubbling up more and more. As we readers work our way through this story, we can feel that something is about to burst. And with that, let's burn our metals and dive deeper.
Ka-chink.
Into chapters 26 through 30.
I'm doing it every time, buddy.
Steven, please give us the epigraph for chapter 26. Brace yourself, because this is a long one.
Yeah, I'm going to have to take a deep breath here. And it's also fitting because I feel like this every second of the day. I'm growing so very tired. Doesn't that just... That's all of us, isn't it?
First
First resonate with that. That was my favorite part of this, but I was like, you know what? Amen to that.
Relatable, very relatable. But also, I do think that how short it is almost a literary device in and of itself, because it's so short that you're like, oh, something is changing here.
It's so short, but it's big in other ways.
Right.
It's not the size of the epigraph. It's the motion of the words.
I'm not going to say what I'm thinking. We are in Vin's POV, and it has been 2 weeks since the failed army attack, and Vin is laying in her bed, and she feels like 30-year-old me with a hangover. Side note, I refuse to drink more than a glass of wine on a night out because I live in constant fear of the dreaded hangover.
Hey, I've had my share of all. Yep. Good on you, buddy.
Her and Kelsier's insane trip has caused some major side effects from what is called pewter drag, where her body has been pushed well beyond its limits. After a quick bath, Vin makes her way downstairs, where she finds the rest of the crew, except for Spook and Kelsier, gathered together. They're all discussing the feasibility of continuing the mission. And Vin is like, what mission? The army was the most crucial part of the plan. Sure, they still have Marsh's work in the ministry and Kelsier's noble house war, but that's not going to really make a dent in the final empire. And after Vin's very articulate and depressing assessment of the situation, Kelsier comes waltzing in, bearing his usual chipper demeanor. And everyone is sitting there like, Kelsier? Read the room, maybe? But Kelsier has no intention of giving up on the job.
He's like Mr. Rogers if Mr. Rogers killed people and had secrets.
Yeah, for sure. I can't imagine Kelsier wearing a cardigan. That's his miscloak.
Tossing the shoe to the other hand. It's a beautiful day in this area.
But this is the moment where all of the whispers of Kelsier's ego and the insanity of what he's trying to do that we've heard about for so long boil over. Finally, someone says something. Breeze says, quote, "You've been using us. You promised us wealth so we'd join you, but you never had any intention of making us rich. This is all about your ego. It's about becoming the most famous crew leader that ever lived. That's why you're spreading all these rumors, doing all this recruitment. You've known wealth. Now you want to become a legend." Stand up for Breeze right now, because
we're all thinking it.
He's finally said what everybody is thinking. And I love how Breeze is like this comedic side character this whole time, but he is the only one who's willing to actually stand up for the crew.
That's a good point. I love the fact that Breeze is the one to call him out. Because like you said, he's been kind of the silly guy up to this point.
Yeah.
But now he recognizes, I feel like we're being duped right now, screwed over, and I would like to call this out. Which also shows you that he probably has a really good relationship with Kelsier. Because, I mean, if you call out your friends, that means you have a good relationship with them, right?
Exactly, yeah. Okay, This is a heavy accusation from Breeze, but it's what everyone is thinking. But before Kelsier can give his response, Spook comes running in. Turns out there's a gathering at the Fountain Square. As the group makes their way outside, there's a realization of what's going on. There would only be one reason for a massive gathering like this in the square: executions. Attendance at these formal executions is required. Bells ring out announcing the event, and obligators are charged with going through the various buildings of the city to find people who are trying to skip out. These streets are packed, but the crew is able to find a rooftop all to themselves so that they can observe above the fray. Once on the roof, Vin notices the nobles in attendance, but of course they weren't deigning to be among the ska. They have a separate area of their own. Quote, "The noblemen were at the center of the square, separated from the ska by soldiers. They were close to the central fountain patio, which stood about 5 feet above the rest of the square. Someone had constructed seating for the nobility, and they lounged, as if they were visiting some show or horse race. Many had servants holding up parasols against the ash, but it was falling lightly enough that some ignored it. Among the nobles are the obligators and inquisitors, and after burning 10, Vin is able to see that her father, who, if you'll remember, is an obligator, standing among them. So she points him out to Kelsier, and Kelsier is like, "What? That's your daddy?"
And if you remember correctly, he doesn't know that she exists, presumably, according to her.
That's kind of what we're led to believe to this point. Like, we haven't really gotten his perspective on everything,
Yeah.
so that's
I
what
mean, he
we
may
think.
know about her, but as far as Vin is
he's
concerned,
been in the same room as her many times, and yet he hasn't noticed her, so...
Oh, I may have a theory now.
Oh, okay, hit me
because the
with
way
it.
you tiptoed around that kind of leads me to believe perhaps something else is coming. Unless you're trying to shroud this in mystery that doesn't exist, just to be Sayzedish.
Steven, I need to admit something to you. I've been leading you on several goose chases throughout this entire show. So I just need you to be prepared for everything I've said to this point to be a lie.
As long as the listeners are okay with it, I'm fine with it.
Kelsier refers to him as Tavidian and lets Vin know that he is not just an obligator, but the Lord Praelin, meaning he is the leader of the Steel Ministry, which technically gives him a higher status than even Inquisitors. Finally, though, the proceedings begin. Vin feels an oppressive numbness come over her. She describes it like a massive blanket pressing down on her. Even after burning copper, she can still feel the presence of the suffocating emotional allomancy. She knows the Lord Ruler is getting closer. This feels kind of like the Darth Vader intro in A New Hope, like just this oppressive feeling.
I love this part just because again, the Lord Ruler, we haven't even seen a silhouette of him at this point. We just read about him, heard about him, hearsay, his diary and stuff like that. But now he's there, presumably, and it just feels like that part of the movie. Like you said, there's the evil guy, and you get like a glimpse of his profile, but it's like in the dark.
Well, in this case, he doesn't even step out of his carriage.
Right. Yeah.
We don't
He's
even
in there
see
smoking a cigarette, being all like boss type-ish.
Yeah, he doesn't even need to step
shadowy.
out of his carriage to completely change the air in the entire city. We get another moment of context as to just how powerful the Lord Ruler is. Bree says, quote, "He's so powerful. At my best, I can soothe only a couple hundred men. There have to be tens of thousands of people here."
So is the Lord Ruler soothing all of these people right now, watching
Yes.
this happen?
Yes, exactly. He's dulling their sense of like resistance or hope or whatever.
He's not taking away their emotions to feel it, though, because the whole point of this is so that these people don't rebel, presumably.
Exactly. Kind of like how when they went into the Lord Ruler's palace and they felt the same kind of blanket over them there as well. Yeah. And the Lord Ruler is coming in style. He is carried by a black carriage drawn by a pair of massive white stallions. And I don't know about you, Stephen, but I cannot help but get Black Parade vibes from this entire image.
Man, when I was
a young boy.
My father didn't know who I was. He was an obligator, and I was in the city. Just change the word. Vin
notices that Kelsier is working against the soothing from the Lord Ruler, trying to riot the emotions of the crew. Remember, Kelsier and Vin are the only ones who can burn copper, therefore protecting themselves from the oppressive allomancy. Spook is trying his best to see if he recognizes any of the captive prisoners who are going to be executed, but he doesn't recognize any of them, because none of them are from the army. They're innocent ska who are going to be executed as a reminder of the power of the Lord Ruler. No one is safe, ever.
It's just a publicity stunt.
Yeah, exactly. And I think in a way, the Lord Ruler, they kind of touch on this. The Lord Ruler could execute the soldier's family, sure. But what better way to instill terror in an entire society than to say, hey, when one of you rebels, hundreds of you are going to die, and it's going to be completely random.
Fear is a powerful motivator. It's
Absolutely
horrific, and you shouldn't use it, but it has stood the test of time, at least.
Exactly. The crew looks on in horror as innocent prisoners are killed, and Kelsier tells the crew that this is exactly why the job can't stop. This is not some job that you quit. He also points out the nobility during this moment who are watching along without a care in the world, some even laughing amongst themselves. This is what they're up against, and they have to stop it. Kelsier then admits that this job was never about the crew becoming wealthy. It was about bringing about change, and Kelsier intends to keep pursuing that. And he knows what the crew thinks of him. He finally says out loud that what everyone has been thinking, that his ego has gotten out of control and that he is playing a dangerous game with being an idol among the ska. And now that the elephant in the room is out in the open, Kel says that he still wants to complete the job with the crew. But if they stay, they can't keep questioning his leadership. How would you react to this whole situation, Steven? Because on one hand, yes, Kelsier is leveling with the crew. And I think in a moment where he's saying, like, I want to do this job with you and I want to collaborate with you. Instead, what he's doing is saying, I want to do this with you, but you have to listen to every single thing that I say.
I mean, there's several different ways you can go with it. Number one, I get the idea to use some sort of an incentive for this job because he may have in the back of his mind what it all is going to take, the outcome of it, but perhaps that's not a great motivator for these people that he wanted to gather. He knows that people are moved by money, so he's like, hey, I'll make you rich. You do these things. But maybe that's what he's holding back. He wants to enact change, and maybe he felt that wasn't powerful enough for these people to get on board with him. So that makes sense to me. His ego is getting out of hand, and if he calls that out and then says, oh, by the way, don't question me anymore, you really haven't apologized for your ego. You're just doubling down on it.
You're just playing into exactly what they're worried about.
But the idea is if you trust me, if you still want to do this, in other words, if you trust me, then you can't question me at all. That kind of makes sense because he can see the outcome in his mind. I also like the fact that he is trying to get them to not quit, because if they do quit, all those ska die for nothing.
I think something else to call to attention here is in the chapter where Kelsier uses Demew to fight Bilg or Blig or whatever the fuck his name was.
Yeah.
Bilgalicious, yeah.
Bilgalicious.
To fight Bilg, at the end, Ham was really upset with Kelsier. And Kelsier just kind of thought to himself, if only you knew Ham. So essentially, to me, that's reading as he knows that he is not going to come out of this looking like roses. He doesn't care what the perception is of him among the crew as long as the result is the one that they're looking for.
It really opens up the conversation about leadership in general and how leaders have to sometimes do things that people don't understand.
Yeah.
Which is why not all people are leaders, and it's very hard to be a leader.
Right.
Because you have to think about everybody and not just one person and not just yourself. And that requires you to sometimes do things that you wouldn't do in normal situations.
Kelsier also mentioned that despite the loss of the army, part one of the job is already completed. You see, the garrison is still out hunting for stragglers and they could be gone for months, giving the crew just the opening they need to inflame the noble house war and seize the Lord Ruler's palace. The plan is definitely on shaky ground, and I would argue that even if they seize the palace with the remainder of the army, what are they going to do about the Inquisitors? But I digress. Bottom line is the crew is back in on the plan. But Vin closes this chapter with a very perceptive thought. Sure, there's a plan, but it really all comes down to the Lord Ruler. Quote, the crew seemed to grow more confident. Vin, however, turned her eyes back toward the square. The fountains ran so red that they seemed completely filled with blood. Over it all, the Lord Ruler watched from within his jet-black carriage. The windows were open, and, with 10, Vin could just barely see a silhouetted figure sitting within. That's our real foe, she thought. Not the missing garrison, not the Inquisitors with their axes. That man, the one from the logbook. We'll have to find a way to defeat him. Otherwise, everything else we do will be pointless. Vin is so perceptive for a 17-year-old girl.
Well, she's also burning metals, and that gives you a little bit more perception, right?
True. I meant it from a mental perspective, not so much physically.
Yeah, well, you kind of have to be. It's not like you can just DoorDash everything to your house. It's not today. Your
and she did
with you.
survive
You
a long time on the
yeah.
streets, so she is pretty worldly. But that's the thing. It's like, I feel as though Kelsier has viewed the Lord Ruler as this afterthought in this entire plan, but then sees so clearly that no matter what they do, as long as the Lord Ruler is a part of the equation, there is no winning.
I like this moment where we focus on the Lord Ruler and she has this epiphany, because it draws a comparison between the experiences that she's been having at these balls and then the reality of the world around her. It's a similar thing to this book that I'm reading. Shout out to Pierce Brown, because we interviewed him. So in Golden Sun, the main guy has a similar epiphany to where he's enjoying this life that he now has, but then he realizes, oh, this is my enemy. And so I'll have to do this. You know what I'm talking about specifically, right?
Yeah. It goes back to the line after one of those balls. Don't forget the ash because you felt a bit of silk. Vin is now a part of this noble society in a way, and it's almost like hypnotic. It's very easy to forget, to lose the forest for the trees. But she's seeing things really clearly. Steven, please read us the epigraph for chapter 27, which I can guarantee you is a bit longer than 26.
I think I've finally discovered why Rashek resents me so much. He does not believe that an outsider such as I, a foreigner, could possibly be the hero of ages. He believes that I have somehow tricked the philosophers, that I wear the piercings of the hero unjustly. According to Rashek, only a terraceman of pure blood should have been chosen as the hero. Oddly, I find myself more determined because of his hatred. I must prove to him that I can perform this task. Okay. Here it is. You know what I'm about to say, right?
Go for it.
Okay, you said in previous episodes to put this in your back pocket when we talk about terracemen specifically. I think it's when he just started talking about terracemen. It sounds like the Lord Ruler is part terraceman.
No, I don't think that's what you're supposed to be getting from it. Because, so let's go back.
All right.
The Lord Ruler has...
Wow. If there was I had chills reading, I was like, he's going to be so proud of me, Hayden is. And instead I get the wah, wah, wah.
The Lord Ruler has essentially stamped out the terrorist religion and completely controlled the terrorist population since his ascension. If we're to assume that the Lord Ruler is the author of this logbook, it says, according to Rashek, only a terraceman of pure blood should have been chosen as the hero.
Because that's what I was saying. Like, it sounds the pure blood as the hero, and the Lord Ruler is perceiving himself to be some sort of a hero, right?
Well, he seems to be projecting himself as a terrorist person, because it says he believes that I have somehow tricked the philosophers, that I wear the piercings of the hero unjustly. And remember how, like Sazed, he wears earrings on his ears all the time for his metal mines and stuff like that. So the idea is that the Lord Ruler, or the author of this logbook, is not a terraceman, but is projecting themselves as a terraceman, which really pisses off Rashek, who is a terraceman.
Yeah, I thought the pure blood specifically, that statement was more of I'm a halfling or half-blood kind of thing.
I see. We are still in Vin's POV, and the crew is back in Clubs' shop and are back in planning mode.
Get the whiteboard.
They're going to be hitting the house war thing hard, now employing Doxson and Breeze to work on it in addition to Vin and Kelsier. And it all starts with House Venture. If they can put financial strain on the top house, that will have a trickle-down effect on the rest of the houses. The crew asks Vin to get information from Elend, and she reluctantly agrees to do so. Sazed joins to give an update on the remaining 2,000 soldiers who are hiding away at Mansion Renew. Ham is going to be tasked with continuing to train them after the crew sneaks them back into Luthadel. He also is going to be the main recruiter over the coming months to get as many soldiers as possible. Sazed also comes bearing a note from Marsh, giving instructions on where Kelsier is to meet him tonight. Turns out he has news. Steven, before we move on from this, if I have one criticism for this book.
Of me? Oh, okay. The book. It's the way your face looks constantly.
I would say that there's a little too much meetings going on.
Yeah, I've been saying that the whole freaking time. There's too much meetings. There's too much Pastor Sazed talking about religions.
Some of this could have been an email.
This book is giving some of this could have been an email. That is a good point. It is very long-winded in their preparation.
And I understand there's a lot of planning and implementation that does have to happen.
And Brandon Sanderson puts within these meetings more uncovering of the world.
True.
So we have a better idea of the surroundings. So he's not doing it flippantly or just to pad the text with more shit. He's doing it presumably on purpose.
I think it's not really a problem for someone who's enjoying the book, but if somebody's on the fence, I do see how this could turn them off eventually.
I was reading a comment on a video that we did, and somebody said they stopped reading it because it was long-winded in certain circumstances like that, but they want to pick it back up now that we're doing this. So, but that makes sense.
Vin and Kelsey are now checking out the location that Marsh wanted to meet at, and Vin decides it's time to put Kel's feet to the fire a bit about what his plans are, particularly the 11th medal. Kelsier is adamant that he really does have it, and he thinks that the medal he showed the crew way back when is the actual 11th medal, but he admits he doesn't know how to use it.
So I was somewhat right in my prediction of the medal.
Is not the medal.
Unless he's still playing some. I feel like he's done playing about this, at least to Vin.
No, I think you correctly sense that something was amiss about the 11th medal.
That's probably why you said, you have the spirit
of
the answer. Okay.
Well, shit. That is a bit of a problem. But Kelsier seems unbothered by this fact. And Vin is like, dude, he's way more powerful than all of us combined. Kelsier has been hoping that they would be able to gain some insight into how to use the 11th medal in the Lord Ruler's logbook, but no luck so far.
I'm curious now, because Kelsier, he seems adamant that this medal will destroy the Lord Ruler, but does he have any information that will lead to this idea?
There's
nothing.
To my knowledge, unless if I'm
know,
forgetting something, there's no indication, there's no promise that this is going to magically harm him or kill him.
But he's putting a lot of stock into this thing he knows nothing about.
It pisses me off. However, Vin does say that the logbook mentions Farukami. Interesting. Kelsier puts the difference between allomancy and Farukami in simple terms. Quote, Farukami is completely internal, Kelsier said in an offhand voice. It can provide some of the same things we get from pewter and tin, strength, endurance, eyesight, but each attribute has to be stored separately. It can enhance a lot of other things too, things that allomancy can't. Memory, physical speed, clarity of thought, even some strange things like physical weight or physical age can be altered by Farukami.
So basically, you can't affect the outside world. You can only affect your inside world.
Exactly. That's what I'm reading from it as well. So Farukami is very powerful. However, there's the major drawback of the time and inconvenience it takes to store attributes in your metal mines. Hence, why the logbook mentions the terracemen being withered and weak at night as they stored physical strength. Kelsier goes on. Quote, want to be twice as strong for a time? Well, you have to spend several hours being weak to store up the strength. If you want to store up the ability to heal quickly, you have to spend a great deal of time feeling sick. In allomancy, the metals themselves are our fuel. We can generally keep going as long as we have enough metal to burn. In Farukami, the metals are more storage devices. Your own body is the real fuel.
And Sazed uses Farukami rather than the other one, allomancy.
Yep, exactly. That's why he has all those different metal things on him, the earrings, the metal bracers on his arms. Kelsier also speculates that perhaps the reason the Lord Ruler doesn't mention allomancy in his book is that he may have snapped when he transitioned to Ascension. As Vin and Kel wait for yes, allomancy.
I hope that's what it looks. Yeah, that's
As Vin and Kel wait for Marsh to arrive, Vin brings up how Kelsier hasn't ever taught her the 9th medal, and Kelsier is rather dismissive, saying that gold isn't very useful. But Vin obviously wants to know. So, Vin burns this new medal, and something very strange happens. The Han Moon is sealed.
That's golden, isn't it? We're going up, up, up.
Quote, she was in two places at once. She could see herself and she could see another version of herself. One of her was a strange woman, changed and transformed from the girl she had always been. That girl had been careful and cautious, a girl who would never burn an unfamiliar metal based solely on the word of one man. This woman was foolish. She had forgotten many of the things that had let her survive so long. She drank from cups prepared by others. She fraternized with strangers. She didn't keep track of the people around her. She was still far more careful than most people, but she had lost so much. The other her was something she had always secretly loathed. A child, really. Thin to the point of scrawniness. She was lonely, hateful, and untrusting. She loved no one, and no one loved her. She always told herself quietly that she didn't care. Was there something worth living for? There had to be. Life couldn't be as pathetic as it seemed, yet it had to be. There wasn't anything else. Vin was both. She stood in two places, moving both bodies, being both girl and woman. She reached out.
I feel like, first of all, this is a very crucial part of the story.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's going to come up in the future, especially this book, maybe towards the end. In terms of Kelsier waiting for this to be revealed to Vin, that makes sense. But from a writer's standpoint, it makes even more sense because if we're saving this medal for some crazy moment at the end, which I think, and we'll get into that at the end of this podcast, then it makes sense why he would introduce it now to build some more momentum.
Yeah, and I think...
Unless I'm totally wrong.
No,
nothing.
No, even if your prediction is wrong, I think this is the right time to introduce this medal to Vin, because if it had happened before, there's not really a difference between the girl that Vin was in chapter 5 versus chapter maybe 10. Right? Now, she's had enough time to develop and to become a different version of herself to this point to where she can see the differences between who she is now and the alternate versions of herself that she can see when she uses gold.
And it also makes for a better story when you unravel things
Yeah.
within the whole story.
Exactly. Gold is a medal that allows you to see different versions of yourself from the past if you had made different choices.
There's a multiverse theory in this Brandon Sanderson, right?
Not a theory. All these stories happen within a universe that have connected planets.
Anything by Brandon Sanderson. Like the Stormlight Archive.
Yeah, basically. Most everything by him, yes.
Is it the same universe or is it multiverse?
It's all the same universe.
Okay, because that could play very well into anything he wants to do. This one, it's like Marvel introducing the what is it called? The multiverse and all that good stuff. You can really do whatever you want at that point. I could be completely wrong.
No, you're scratching on something that you don't even know you're scratching on, but I really like this observation is all I'm going to say.
Okay. I'll take that as a win.
There's not much time to digest all of that, though, because Marsh is here, and he has obligator tattoos. I just kind of imagine them as Mike Tyson tattoos on the side of his head.
Mike Tyson, yeah.
He is officially in with the ministry. He comes bearing some very relevant information about the ministry's goings-on. Most notably, the ministry employs dozens of what they call soothing stations throughout the city to dampen the Ska population's spirits at all times. And we also learn from Marsh that the Inquisitors seem to have the ability to access all the allomantic abilities, as if they were mistborn. But he also has learned that they do in fact age, meaning they're not immortal like we previously thought. As Marsh puts it, quote, "They're people, Kel. They've merely been changed." Okay, also, one last nugget here. There's some tension between the obligators and the Inquisitors. Quote, "The Inquisitors don't have many dealings with normal obligators. There's political tension between the two groups. The Lord Praelin leads the church, but the Inquisitors think that they should be in charge." Interesting. So, while
political
things,
rivalry once
while things look
everywhere.
very bleak, there are some tensions within the government that maybe could be used at a later time.
Everybody always wants to be in charge.
Yeah, that's right. And with that, Marsh has to leave. All right, Steven, we're chugging right along. Give us the epigraph for chapter 28.
Sometimes my companions claim that I worry and question too much. However, while I may wonder about my stature as the hero, there is one thing that I've never questioned. The ultimate good of our quest. Ooh, that's interesting. Sorry, I interrupted, but that's still, I like that. The deepness must be destroyed. I have seen it. I have felt it. This name we give it is too weak a word, I think. Yes, it is deep and unfathomable, but it is also terrible. Many do not realize that it is sapient, but I have sensed its mind, such that it is, the few times I have confronted it directly. It is the thing of destruction, madness, and corruption. It would destroy this world, not out of spite or out of animosity, but simply because that is what it does.
Steven, these epigraphs are starting to cook in a way I cannot even describe to you, because they are pointing to things not only in this book, but the rest of the trilogy and the broader universe as a whole.
Usually, I said this in previous episodes, I usually skip over epigraphs because they're not really important sometimes. I mean, I think in Fourth Wing, they have epigraphs that kind of, I think they more so relate to that chapter that they're talking about.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
This is much looser.
This is very distinct. Is this specific to Brandon Sanderson, these types of epigraphs?
I mean, I don't know. I haven't read enough authors to know that he's the only one who does this kind of stuff, but it really does start to feel
carry
like
a lot of weight.
Yeah, and they start telling
a
story on their own.
Yeah, and just the placement of them within the book, it unravels at a good pace, the same as the story. It's just, he did a really good job with it.
Yeah, no,
Kudos.
I love it. And it speaks to the meticulous planning that went into all of this. This is all placed here for a reason.
Right. He didn't just throw it in there through some randomized thing. I like, we're talking about the deepness here, and that's still vague to me at this point in the story, and I guess to all of us except for you, daddy of knowledge here.
Oh, it's very clear to me now.
I have the power. Oh, great. But now we're uncovering it's an entity of some sort.
Yeah.
It has a conscious mind.
Yeah.
And it is built for destruction.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we're not talking about some random pit somewhere. It's a void. It's so deep. I don't want to fall into it. It's some sort of a monster. That's at least what it sounds like.
Vin is at a ball at Keep Lacal, and their stained glass windows are gorgeous.
Oh my gosh.
They're actually a bit different from your standard windows at other houses. Sure, this one still depicts the Ascension, but it also shows the greenery and mountains that the logbook describes. But Vin can't dawdle. She has a job to do, and that job is to plant information to Lady Kliss. And plant she does, because after dropping hints about House Hastings potentially leaving Luthadel, Lady Kliss goes running off, clearly about to spread the rumor further. I know she's not like our favorite character, but she's kind of funny.
No, I'm not going to give her the win at the end. I have that reserved for somebody else. But she is winning in this book because she just does whatever she wants.
Yeah, and I can tell that she loves her life. She loves gathering gossip and just spreading it everywhere. And
she's like my family. They just like getting together and talking crap about other family.
And she's a lesson for all of us to do what you love.
Just to do, even if it hurts other people.
You see, Hastings is a house very dependent on its weapons contracts, and upon hearing that they may be leaving, other houses would start getting their weapons from elsewhere, weakening House Hastings. Other houses like Venture wouldn't go down so easily, though. And in Ven's mind, despite the crew's plan, she hopes to protect Ellen from fallout as much as she can. And speak of the devil, Ellen is here. And you know these two, they can't help but have their classic witty banter. But this time is different. As their conversation goes on, Ellen starts to take steps towards Vin until he's face to face with her, and he says, quote, "I think I'm going to kiss you." Oh, come on, do it already, dude, come on.
There's a comment on one of the videos we were talking about this particular relationship, and one of the people was like, yeah, us romantasy girlies are very invested in these two people. Because you said initially you glossed over this character.
Yeah. But listen, Sanderson gets criticism about his lack of romance in his stories, but he's not
a romance writer. Why would they criticize? It's like me criticizing him for not having enough BMWs in it. They're not supposed to be in the story.
Right, but I think he's taking a page out of Jane Austen's book here, and he's saying, I'm going to make the lack of physical touch sexy.
Yeah.
Just like in Pride and Prejudice. And I think if people would adopt that mentality when reading this book, I think they would find that it's actually very hot. But Vince stops him because according to her, he doesn't really know her yet. But she can't tell him all of it now. So they go on a stroll instead. As they walk, Ellen drops a bomb on Vin. He wants her to leave Luthadel. He thinks it's not safe for her anymore with all the growing tension going on. According to Ellen, no house is safe, not even Venture. In fact, Venture is in a very tenuous position because Ellen confides that their massive wealth comes from running the pits of Halfson and handling the Lord Ruler's ATM.
Yeah, interesting moment there.
That is a huge piece of information for him to share with her. One, not everybody knows that the pits of Halfson are where the ATM comes from. Mm-hmm. At least that's my perception. I could be completely wrong on that. And number two, that is information that somebody could take and use against Ellen's house. So he's putting a lot of trust in Vin here. This is exactly the kind of information that Vin is supposed to report back to the crew. Vin has a warning for Ellen, too, though. She thinks Shan is going to act against Ellen in some way. The conversation turns to Ellen's gold ring on his finger, which is odd because you really shouldn't wear metal out of risk of being vulnerable to allomancers. But Ellen points out that many nobles wear metal because the Lord Ruler himself does. Quote, "The Lord Ruler, he's just arrogant. I've read of warriors long ago who would run into battle without armor on, supposedly to prove how brave and strong they were. That's how this is, I think, though admittedly on a far more subtle level. He wears metal to flaunt his power, to show how unfrightened, how unthreatened he is by anything we could do to him.
I believe they call that peacocking.
Peacock, yes. Dude, the Lord Ruler is peacocking 24/7. Elend is about to have to leave to meet with his friends, but Vin presses him about what they talk about in their secret meetings, and Elend is very upfront. Quote, "We talk philosophy mostly," Elend said. "We're kind of a stuffy lot, which isn't too surprising, I guess, if you know any of us. We talk about the government, about politics, about the Lord Ruler. We can't do anything about him being in charge, no. My friends and I, we just wish the final empire could be a little different. We can't change things now, but maybe someday, assuming we all survive the next year or so, we'll be in positions to influence the Lord Ruler."
Yeah, and that's when we learn that he doesn't want to overthrow the Lord Ruler. He just wants to nestle up next to him and be, a positive thing in his ear because he doesn't feel like he can.
And I think there's a couple different ways you can read this from Elend. If you're being generous, he's being pragmatic. He does want to make a better society, but he realizes that it's not going to be very possible to completely get the Lord Ruler out of the picture. Or you could make the argument that he is someone who profits off the labor of the Ska. He profits from the system that's in place. So he might be masquerading as this revolutionary, progressive person, but he's not really willing to put in the work to be uncomfortable enough to make real change.
That's a good point. I don't get that vibe from him. I don't think he would have opened up all this information to Elend if maybe subconsciously that's there, because I'm sure it's there for anybody in that position. But I don't know. Maybe you're right.
No,
I don't get that vibe from him.
I don't either. I just think in terms of when you're thinking about when you have a society that is so diametrically in favor of one group, and there is one person in that group who's like, I want to help the people who are being oppressed, but I don't want to change too much. I can see how people would be suspicious of that person.
I mean, that's most of us. We want to enact change, but we don't want to lose our comfort at the same time. So there's probably some of that in there. I feel like it's more so the idea that the Lord Ruler is immortal and he's God, basically, and you can't overthrow God, but perhaps you can whisper in God's ear. And maybe that's the place he's coming from.
I think it's a better read on the situation overall. Vin goes on to ask what he'd do differently. I don't know, Elend confessed. I've read a lot of books, some that I'm not supposed to, and I haven't found any easy answers. But I'm pretty certain that beheading people won't solve anything. Fair point. The Lord Ruler has been around for a long time. You'd think that he'd have found a better way.
I still go back to that epigraph that we read about when the Lord Ruler, presumably, said, if I stop caring, in a nutshell, if I stop caring about people, then I know I've gone too far.
Yeah. After Elend leaves, Vin makes her way to Lady Shan's table to try to prod about her plan. But Lady Karen just completely backhands her with insults and tells her that her information about Elend's books are no longer needed. Now, we are in Elend's POV. It was so cool when this new POV got unlocked.
Yeah, and not for you because you hated this character at first, but when you reread it, perhaps.
Yeah.
No, I was very excited because I'm shipping these two people. Specifically, I like this guy because, again, I'm coming out of romantasy books. So I'm all about this relationship building aspect. And I wanted to see, okay, is Elend a bad guy? Because we'll find out, maybe.
Yeah, when you're in
this POV, we'll get in his mind. And I didn't get that vibe, luckily. Until like the last sentence, I was confused by it. And I still don't know what the hell he was talking about because you made me stop early.
Okay.
But we got his POV.
All right, great. Elend is lounging with his boys, and they're trying to have a bro-to-bro convo about Vin. They think that she's suspicious, that she's gotten too close with him too quickly. And it's fair for them to be skeptical. After all, there would be hundreds of reasons why a woman would want to get close to Elend, heir to the most powerful noble house in the city. But Elend is convinced that she's different from the other girls. She's worth pursuing. We then jump to Elend making it home in his carriage, and his father calls him into his office. Straff Venture is sitting in his study with Tensoon, the Venture family Khandra. Now, to be completely clear, I don't believe we have really any idea of what a Khandra is at this point in time, but just clock that it gets mentioned.
A Khandra?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember hearing that before this moment.
Quote, Elend still wasn't used to the creature's most recent body, which had once belonged to a servant in the Hastings household. After the Khandra leaves, Straff asks if Elend had spent time with Villette again, who he apparently had forbidden Elend from speaking with. Straff also tells Elend that he has set up a lunch appointment for him with the daughter of a strong noble house.
You glossed over this pretty quickly. This Ellen still wasn't used to the creature's most recent body, and I'm still trying to process this.
I wonder if there could be a reason why I glossed over that.
Maybe. It's coming. But let's dive into it for a second. There's a creature that's introduced at the beginning of the book that hides in the mist. What is that creature called?
Mist Wraith.
A mist wraith. Is it anything to do with a mist wraith?
I'm going to plead the fifth on that one.
So yes.
Straff is trying to set up an engagement for Ellen so that they can have strong allies if a war does break out. Ellen, though, tries to dismiss this notion, mentioning that they wouldn't have to worry about House Hastings due to them leaving the city. But Straff is not amused by this. He had already asked Ellen if he had learned anything from the ball, and Ellen had hidden this from him. Quote, I don't know why I care. Anything you learn is bound to be worthless. I tried to train you in politics, boy. I really did. But now, well, I hope I live to see you dead, because this house is in for dire times if you ever take control. This tells us everything we need to know about the relationship between these two. Yes, well, exactly.
Definitely that, but also it reinforces the idea that Kelsier is given that this guy, Daddy Venture, or we'll just call him Dad Venture, because Daddy is reserved.
Yeah, he doesn't deserve the Daddy title.
You don't get the DY, you just get the hard
Father
D
Venture.
Father Venture. We recognize that he is actually a bad dude.
Yeah, exactly. Despite the poking and prodding from his father about his shortcomings, Ellen can't stand up for himself. As he leaves, he thinks to himself, quote, that's the difference between you and them, Ellen, he thought. Those philosophers you read, they were revolutionaries. They were willing to risk execution. You can't even stand up to your father. Ellen is not just some rich guy who's charming and everything. He has his deeper troubles as well.
He probably hides a lot of it under his wit.
So absolutely.
So do I, buddy. But I think Brandon Sanderson does a great job of introducing problems as each character's story progresses so that you begin to feel more for them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, too, he finds something to endear us to them first. Breeze with his humor, Ham with his philosophy, Ellen with his wit. And then slowly but surely he starts peeling back the layers to show, hey, by the way, this is either a defense mechanism or this is just one part of this deeper character. And
it's reflective of real life. Like everybody looks different when you see them and they act different, but we all have some sort of traumatic past. We all have problems and battles we're fighting, and so we're all connected in the sorrow of life.
Before he can get to his room, though, a servant tells him that his friend, Lord Yastes, would like to talk to him. It turns out Yastes had Vin followed after the ball, and Vin was nowhere to be found in her carriage as it left the city. Ellen is still not convinced that this is something to really be worried about, but is starting to nag on him. I mean, he had just told her the most useful information about his family's wealth possible earlier that night. So, as Ellen returns to his rooms, he tells one of his servants, quote, tell my father I want to make a trade. I'll go to his luncheon tomorrow just as he wants. Ellen paused, standing in the evening robe by his bedroom door. In exchange, tell him I want to borrow a couple of spies so that they can follow someone for me. All right, Steven, chapter 29. Hit us with the epigraph.
The others think I should have had Quan executed for betraying me. To tell the truth, I'd probably kill him this moment if I knew where he'd gone. At the time, however, I just couldn't do it. The man had become like a father to me. To this day, I don't know why he suddenly decided that I wasn't the hero. Why did he turn against me, denouncing me to the entire conclave of world-bringers? Would he rather that the deepness win? Surely, even if I'm not the right one, as Quan now claims, my presence at the Well of Ascension couldn't possibly be worse than what will happen if the deepness continues to destroy the land. All right, so the Well of Ascension, spoiler alert, is the title of book 2.
That's correct.
And I wonder, and you don't have to tell me, I'm curious if that is the Lord Ruler's backstory. I don't know the sequence of these books. I don't know. Do they go in a sequential
they're all
order?
sequential. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's not a prequel in a sense.
Correct.
I wonder if that book will tell us more about the Well of Ascension. I'm sure it will.
I would hope so if that's the title.
But that was my curiosity. Does it go back in time? Maybe it flashes forward and backward. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's more uncovering of whatever this is, though.
But we do see the titles of both of the next 2 books in this trilogy, Well of Ascension and Hero of Ages, mentioned several times in these epigraphs.
Yeah, I forgot that the third one is Hero of Ages. Yeah. Oh. Put that in your back pocket so I can talk about it again when I get to my theories.
Okay. This is what I'm putting it. in my back.
Put it right there.
We are back in Vin's POV, and Vin is reading the last of what has been translated of the Lord Ruler's logbook. It talks much of the terraceman, Roshek, who is pretty clearly not a fan of the author. He believes that the people of Kalenium, where the author is from, have oppressed the Terrace people. The author also goes on about his exhaustion from being the hero of ages and the burden of that responsibility. Quote, "The Terrace prophecies say that I will have the power to save the world. They hint, however, that I will have the power to destroy it as well. I will have the ability to fulfill any wish of my heart. He will take upon himself authority that no mortal should hold. Yet the philosophers warned me that if I am self-serving with the power, my selfishness will taint it."
You know, a wise man once said, with great power comes great responsibility.
That's right. Uncle Ben.
Uncle Benny.
Love him. Is this a burden that any man should bear? Is this a temptation any man could resist? I feel strong now, but what will happen when I touch that power? I will save the world, certainly, but will I try to take it as well?
That's the big test, right?
Yeah.
What would any of us do? We think we would do the right thing, but when you have your hands on that much power, the true what would really come out in that moment?
Right.
It seems that the Lord Ruler had the greatest intentions.
Yeah.
Power is the enemy.
I'm sorry. Every time I go through this stuff, I'm realizing 5 different things that are completely relevant to the ending of this entire trilogy. I'm shook right now.
Well, this is the moment, this is the episode where I'm the most excited because everything's kind of coming together, and I'm also pissed off at you because of where you left me off. So there's anger mixed with excitement. And this, again, it's all coming together. Things are starting to work together for the good, seemingly.
It's like when you're doing a jigsaw, a puzzle, and when you're oh my God, I have to put the sky together, and all the blues look the same.
Yeah.
And you're spend hours and hours working on it, and all of a sudden you're okay, we're done with the blues. Mm-hmm. Let's move on to the house with all these distinct different colors that I can actually do.
Yeah, but you always build the frame first. You don't. You get the side pieces.
Yeah,
and then you work. Yeah.
But for the purposes of the metaphor, Steve.
Not to screw over your metaphor here. My bad.
Here, Sanderson is hinting that the power that the Lord Ruler has attained from the time of ascension is not as simple as taking it. There is a choice, and that choice has consequences both ways. The logbook ends with this eerie line, quote, "Such are my fears as I scribble with an ice-crusted pen on the eve before the world is reborn. Roshek watches, hating me. The cavern lies above, pulsing. My fingers quiver, not from the cold. Tomorrow, it will end." Vin is pissed. She wants to know how this all ends. So she seeks out Sazed in the mansion. But it turns out that was the end of the logbook. The Lord Ruler has blue-balled Vin. And not only that, the logbook had nothing on the 11th metal like Kelsier had hoped. As Vin and Sazed continue their conversation, Vin brings up something that's been bothering her. If the job is successful, everything will change. The crew will have other projects to work on, and the very world as they know it will be unrecognizable. And Sazed gives a very succinct diagnosis of this very idea. Quote, "That is the nature of all life, mistress. The world must change." This is difficult for Vin to accept. For once, she is a part of something. She finally has friends, and very soon, the day-to-day of what that looks like could change. And Vin isn't used to change being a good thing. In her eyes, she's been unlucky all her life. How is it supposed to change now? But for once, Sazed brings up a religion, and it's actually pretty helpful. Quote, "You just need to have hope, mistress. Perhaps you've earned a little bit of good fortune. There was a group of people before the Ascension known as the Estalsi. They claimed that each person was born with a certain finite amount of ill luck. And so, when an unfortunate event happened, they thought themselves blessed. Thereafter, their lives could only get better." He goes on, "The Estalsi were rather advanced. They mixed religion with science quite profoundly. They thought that different colors were indications of different kinds of fortune, and were particularly detailed in their descriptions of light and color. Indeed, it's from them that we got some of our best ideas as to what things might have looked like before the Ascension. They had a scale of colors and used it to describe the sky of the deepest blue and various plants in their shades of green. I have to stop us right here for all of my Cosmere veterans, because the way that Sazed describes the Ostalsi's affinity for color here sounds very reminiscent of a magic system in a different Cosmere book. And it's speculated that the Ostalsi may have been an inspiration for Sanderson as he was building out this new magic system based around color.
Interesting. I wouldn't know, but for the seasoned Sanderson. This description that Sazed gives, it just shows you the genius of Brandon Sanderson's craft in that he's built an entire ecosystem
of different religions,
of different things, and he's not saying any of this flippantly. Like, he has it all worked out.
Yeah.
And I just like the intricacies. It reminds me of like the Lord of the Rings in a sense.
Tolkien,
you have all of these cultures and all these languages and things like that.
Yeah. Vin then finally presses Sazed about the night he saved her from the Inquisitors. Yes, he did use Farukami to make himself several times stronger than usual. That was how he saved her. And Vin asks Sazed a weird question. Can she burn one of his medals that he wears? She wants to know if she's able to burn the stored up energy that Sazed puts in his medals. So, Sazed gives her a small earring that holds pewter. Vin swallows it and tries to burn it. After all, she can feel something, a shadow of the strength stored in the earring, but she can't access it. This makes sense to Sazed because a keeper cannot use another keeper's medal either because it doesn't belong to them. We are now in Kelsier's POV. Kelsier is sneaking into Mansion Renew for a meeting with the crew. He wants to make sure he keeps a low profile, given his new reputation as the symbol of the Scott Rebellion. And during this moment, we unfortunately learn, Steven, that your prediction about Lord Renew actually being Lord Renew is wrong, because Kelsier refers to him as a Khandra as he watches the crew before jumping in through the window.
Because we just learned about Khandras. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Upon settling in, he hands over a paper. It's the map of the soothing stations he requested from Marsh. It also has listed points that denote Inquisitor activity. This is a very valuable asset, and it turns out the higher-ups at the Ministry just gave it to Marsh. They've been very impressed with him and wanted him to give recommendations on other areas to put soothing stations. Most notably, though, according to the map, Darren's crew, who were Cayman's accomplices during the Canton job, were hit last night with no survivors. This means that the Inquisitors are still on Vin's trail. The conversation then turns to recruitment and how to deal with these soothing stations. They're considering taking them out one by one, but they'll have to be meticulous, or otherwise overplay their hand. The crew then talks about the upcoming ball at Keep Venture. However, when Kelsier asks Vin if she's gotten any useful information from Elend, she says no, which is a bald-faced lie. Kelsier thinks to himself, quote, would she tell us if she knew? She met his eyes, and he couldn't read a thing in them. Blasted girl's far too experienced a liar.
I like that part. Again, Vin is really becoming a great character. Not that she's ever been a bad character, but her character arc specifically.
Yeah.
She's becoming a strong FMC.
And she's so realized for like just a 17-year-old, a teenage girl.
Yeah.
There's just so much depth to her. I love it. We then move to later that night as Kelsier is in his room. Sazed joins him, and guess what? Kelsier asks him for a religion proposal. Sazed first points out the truths of the Bennett. They were a religion founded around seafaring and cartography, but this doesn't quite fit Kelsier. So he asks to hear about one he's heard before, the Vala. He wants to understand what kept them going for so long. After all, they were the final remaining religion after the Lord Ruler's ascension. Sazed thinks they were just the most determined, despite their leaders being dead. And I'm going to quote the last several lines here because they are so poignant. Quote, they had leaders, Master Kelsier, Sazed said. Dead ones, true, but leaders nonetheless. Some men would say that their devotion didn't make sense, Kelsier said. The loss of the Valan leaders should have broken the people, not made them more determined to keep going. Sazed shook his head. Men are more resilient than that, I think. Our belief is often strongest when it should be the weakest. That is the nature of hope. Kelsier nodded. Did you want further instruction on the Vala? No. Thanks, Sazed. I just needed to be reminded that there were people who fought even when things looked hopeless.
I love this part because if you remember correctly, whenever Sazed had his first conversation about religion with Vin, he gives the reason that he knows all these religions and why she should have a religion is because everybody needs something to believe in. And in this moment, Kelsier is losing presumably his faith in what he's doing. And he's like, I just need something. Tell me a story, Dad. This is what it sounds like.
All right, Steven, can you hit us with the final epigraph for today's episode, Chapter 30?
Most of the Terracemen are not as bad as Reshek. However, I can see that they believe him, to an extent. These are simple men, not philosophers or scholars, and they don't understand that their own prophecies say the hero of ages will be an outsider. They only see what Reshek points out, that they are an ostensibly superior people, and should be dominant rather than subservient. Before such passion and hatred, even good men can be deceived. So Reshek is a Terraceman, right? So Reshek is essentially the Sazed, and Kelsier is essentially the Lord Ruler. If we're drawing comparisons between
If we're
these
drawing that
dynamic
comparison,
duos,
I suppose so, but Sazed really likes Kelsier.
right, but in terms of like the duo of beings,
Yeah.
it's like the Sazed and Kelsier.
Yeah. We are back in Vin's POV. Vin is back at Keep Venture, attending the ball, and something seems off. Everybody is here, which is bizarre because ball attendance had dipped recently with rising tensions. And what's worse, even as Vin tries to go up to various groups to get gossip on what's going on, they all either ignore her or disperse as she comes up. And weirdest of all, Elend is not in his usual spot. Instead, he is at the head table with his father. Finally, Sazed emerges from the servants' meeting to fill Vin in. Turns out, this is going to be the final ball before the official breakout of the House War. So, all this standoffish behavior among the guests is because everyone is trying to lock in their last-minute alliances for the coming battles.
And this is what Kelsier has been working toward, right?
Yeah.
This is what he wanted from the beginning of the book, is for all the houses to be at war with one another, and we're seeing that unfold now.
Going exactly according to plan. The one part of the plan that is
one
going
part of the plan
very
is
well.
working. Yeah. But in Vin's mind, not so much, because she's starting to get close to some of these people.
Exactly. With all this in mind, Sazed leaves to tell Kelsier about the update, leaving Vin on her own. Vin's first order of business is to find out what the hell is up with Elend. Finally, she gets her chance. But Elend is exceedingly cold here. He tells her that he can't risk being associated with her anymore with the coming war, and that he knows she's been a spy this whole time. This is heartbreaking for Vin.
Young love.
That's right. All she can muster is, quote, "Don't leave," she whispered. "Don't you leave me too."
I actually was listening to that part rather than reading it at work, and I was like, oh man, that hurts, because I really adore Vin as a character. I want the best for her, and I feel what she's feeling. It made me very sad.
And you know, like, you're seeing this happen in real time, and you're like, this is going to be completely, it's going to destroy her. Like, she's been working so hard to start trusting people, and now Elend is leaving too.
Yeah, that's a good point, because she's had to unlearn a lot of things because of her brother and how he taught her to live life, and just because of she couldn't trust anybody in the past, and now she's being vulnerable, and with vulnerability comes the potential to have your heart stomped on.
And speaking of that piece of shit, Reen's voice returns to her.
Yep.
Of course he's leaving. Everyone betrays you, Vin. But then, Vin is joined by perhaps the most annoying possible guest. Lady Kliss.
Lady Kliss.
Our girl, Lady Kliss. However, she's a bit different than usual. She tells Vin to let her uncle know that if he needs an informant in the coming war, she'd be happy to provide her services? Services? Turns out Kliss isn't just a gossip. She's an informant for noble houses.
She's a narc.
She's a narc. She also says something weird about Elend. Quote, "Don't worry, child. He'll get what he deserves shortly." Excuse me?
No. Is it a present? Is it something good? If that's what he deserves in my eyes.
Yeah. He deserves a kiss on the head. On the forehead.
Do we finally get to connect mouths? Is that what he deserves?
Vin gives her the sapphire necklace she's wearing as payment, and Kliss tells Vin that Shan is going to have Elend assassinated. But when Kliss stops there, Vin burns zinc and brass to play with Kliss's emotions to get the remaining information out of her. It's going to happen tonight. And even worse, Elend's dad is in on it. This is bad, bad, bad. And Vin is off in an instant to try to save Elend.
So his dad's going to kill him, and he just said that last night.
Yeah, he's like, I'd
rather watch you die.
I would love if you would die, buddy. And now he's a part of the plan to get him assassinated.
Yeah.
But Lady Kliss is confused. After all, he did just spurn her. What does Vin owe him? And here we have it. Vin thinks to herself, quote, "She's right. What do I owe him?" The answer came immediately. I love him.
I love this part, because normally in books, like the "I love you" comes after a lot of other things, right? But this is like a, I don't know, this is
the threat of losing him.
Stronger "I love you."
Yeah, the threat of losing him is what helps her to realize that.
Yeah.
Vin bursts into another corridor and breaks through the window to go out into the night to try to find the assassins. She burns bronze, searching for an allomantic pulse, and she feels the faintest of pulses. And with that, she runs across the roof, ripping off the outer layers of her dress to pursue the assassins. This is so badass.
This is
I
like a
love
Superman moment, right?
Yes, yes.
You just see the big S on the chest, take
Yes.
flight, remove the glasses. Is that, oh, what? Superman.
Oh my God.
Where'd Clark go?
She gets the jump on them and throws her coin pouch into the air and pushes, sending coins in every direction at the assassins, dropping several of them. But two of the remaining enemies wearing mist cloaks stopped the coins in their tracks, and one of them, Vin recognizes, is Lady Shan Karen Ilariel.
I knew she was trouble.
Shan is a Mistborn.
I should have called this from the beginning, but I didn't. But it's so obvious now that she's going to be the bad something or other.
What happens next is just a cacophony of desperate fighting, and Vin is going crazy, taking on Allomancer after Allomancer. But the truth is, she can't take on two Mistborn at once, so she decides that she has to run. Hopefully, this gave Elend enough time to escape. As Vin runs, she's actually able to shake off one of the Mistborn by pulling on a guard's breastplate and then pushing him up in the air to run into the Mistborn at full speed.
I have a question, though. So it says give Ellen time to escape. She hasn't seen him yet, right?
No, but she's hoping that like the noise that's going on outside with the fighting will have like tipped him off at least.
Because she stopped the hand of the people that were about to kill him, which was Shan and these other whatevers.
Right.
Okay.
And now there's just one left. The Karen, Shan. But if you remember, Vin still has one more medal. The what?
The Sharon. We can't do Sharon. We
talked about this last time. That's an actual name.
Never mind. The Karen Shan. There's no. She's about to. Never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, we don't need to worry about it much longer.
No, it's short-lived.
But if you remember, Vin still has one more medal she can burn, atium. She swallows the medal and thinks she has an advantage, but damn it, Shan has some too. So essentially, they're at a stalemate until one of them runs out of atium. The battle is incredible as the two bob and weave through each other's attacks. Vin is down to the last few seconds of her atium, knowing she'll run out first. So she extinguishes it, tricking Shan into thinking she has an opening. But then Vin reignites her atium, confusing Shan just for a split second, giving Vin the chance to grab an arrow shot by guards in the distance and shove it into Shan's chest, killing her. And that is the end of this week's chapters.
You see why I'm angry? What happens next? Where's Ellen? Where's Kelsier? I don't know.
Where's Waldo?
Where's Waldo? I don't know. It's a good ending though.
Oh, it's great. It's awesome. And I love I don't know. I obviously we hate Shan, so it's very cathartic for her to get killed.
Right.
But I love that she ends up being kind of Vin's final boss for this section of the book. Yeah,
and Shan's no peon, right? She's an established Mistborn, presumably.
Oh, yeah.
So Vin took down a boss. This was a boss fight in the book, and she first tried it.
She absolutely did, and this is the first time she's ever faced a Mistborn in a true battle situation. She's trained with Kelsier, but not for trying to go for blood.
The student has become the teacher.
That's right. All right, Steven, let's go ahead and give our winners and losers of the week. Would you like to start?
Okay, so my winner, you're going to think this is odd. It's more of a tie, but I'll start with the first one.
Okay.
The Lord Ruler, in my mind, is the winner of the week because we just saw a glimpse of him, and I love the mystery surrounding him. I like how the epilogues are starting to come together. He's not a winner in that he's a nice character, but he's a winner in he's the most interesting in this section
around
of
him.
chapters.
Yeah,
and I love when he's sitting in the carriage and you can just see the silhouette, and Vin can see through her metal burning that there's somebody in there. We don't know much about him. It's very exciting for what's coming,
for sure.
Because I'm assuming that we'll get to see him soon, but and the book's almost over, so hopefully. But it's also a tie between him and Vin because her taking out Shan. It has to give you spot number one.
The move when she throws up her coin pouch and then pushes it all.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
I just imagine that in my mind, and it looks painful, first of all, for everyone involved, but also good on her.
Yeah.
So that's my winners, and for those reasons. The loser, I'm going to say, unfortunately, I think is Elend, because I don't know his motives. I think he's protecting protecting Vin by pushing her away.
Yeah.
And we don't know for certain why he's spying on her, if he is spying on her, or who he's spying on in general. But I don't know. I'm going to give it because I couldn't find a good loser. I guess I'll still keep him the loser, but the second loser will be Shan because she's dead.
Yeah, she literally lost.
She lost to a child.
Yeah.
You're a loser.
Yeah.
Yeah. scratch that. Ellen, you can still have the spot, but I'm going to also give it to Shan.
Well, I will go ahead and give the loser spot back to Ellen because, listen, I get why he called off things with Vin, but I feel like he's just falling for the social pressure that he's been fighting against this entire time and not going with his gut. And my winner has to go to Vin. I mean, she just took down not one, but two Mistborn in her first live action battle against someone on her level, essentially. And to your point, Shan has had a whole lifetime to train. She's been training for, 6 months maybe?
Presumably.
Yeah. So she's some kind of savant, essentially. All right, Steven, please look into your foggy crystal ball and let us know what you think is going to happen in the next set of chapters.
Okay. I don't think this next thing is going to happen, but I think this would be a crazy plot twist, and I was thinking of it today, and I felt like it needed to be said.
Yeah.
So we discovered what gold kind of does, right? There's different versions of you. The crazy plot, and again, I don't think this will happen, but this would be cool. If Kel was somehow the Lord Ruler in an alternate version of himself, because we just learned about the use of gold, and so what if that's him?
Oh, and so that's kind of why you were asking.
That's why I was trying to get to the multiverse idea. Yeah.
Interesting. That's cool. Yeah, I like that. All right.
Because it's not a small thing what gold does.
No, I mean, it's not, it doesn't have a physical, practical application, but it can be, really insightful.
Yeah, I feel like there's a reason it's in here, which leads me to the actual thing I think is going to happen, which is vague. I'm taking advice from you, right, at this point. Gold will become very important very soon in the story, for some reason. For some specific, special reason. Probably, now that I think about it, in a dire situation, maybe a fight.
Yeah.
Something bad is going on and it needs to happen, and so she takes it or whatever.
Okay.
But then we get to find out more about it. So it's going to become very important very soon. Also, and I mentioned this before, I forget what episode, somebody important, I said will die. I think somebody important is going to die in the next stretch of chapter. So the next episode,
okay, at
the end of it, I think I'm going to be confirming someone important has died.
Okay, gotcha. Not just losing a leg, but dying.
Not just losing a leg. They lose their life.
Okay.
The whole them.
Cool.
Also, I think we're going to see the Lord Ruler by the end of next episode as well.
Fully outside in the flesh.
Fully outside. Unless they do the whole, at the end of book 1, read book 2 to find out more. The to be continued, hopefully not. But hopefully there's enough of him to where I get to see, my whistle has been wet by the end of this episode, if you will. Hopefully that happens.
Okay.
That's a terrible analogy, but here we are. In the next stretch of chapters specifically, I feel like he's going to be seen.
Okay.
And I wrote this down, but I don't think it's true anymore. Sazed is hiding the last part of the book. I don't think that's true.
Okay.
So I'm going to nix that. If it comes back to where I was right, I'm going to pretend like I didn't nix it. And then also somebody by the end of next episode will have betrayed them.
Okay.
Them being the good people we're rooting for.
Yeah.
The ones against the Lord Ruler.
Okay. All right.
There's a betrayer among us in the next episode.
Some fascinating predictions by you this week, Steven. Okay, everybody, that is it for episode 6 of our deep dive of Mistborn. We only have 2 more episodes left. Can you believe it?
And if you like this, go ahead and check out our interview with Pierce Brown right now on our feed. And episode 7 will be coming out on December 10th. Also, please be sure to give us a 5-star rating and review on your podcast platform, and give us a follow on Instagram and TikTok at Fantasy Fanfellas.
And lastly, if you loved this episode and you have friends who are secret nobleman informants, this is just the episode to share with them. Okay, see you next episode for chapters 31 through 34. Bye!
Ka-chink.
And Vin is like, dude, he's way more powerful. He's way more powerful than all of us. Also, that's you, sorry.
Also, don't interrupt me. No.
Also, shut the fuck up.
Daddy's talking. I didn't see it. I forget to scroll every time.